It's that time of the week again for another episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast. Only this week, on top of the episode, I have to provide an apology because I didn't plan anything and there is no actual new episode this week. Instead, I'm shoehorning an old episode that I did with Craig and Luke back at the beginning of the pandemic before we ever put the podcast together. So I hope you enjoy us talking about our favorite pandemic games and what helped us get through those boring and video game filled times. For our patrons, the post show that we usually do is going to be a bit delayed this week, so you're going to get that hopefully tomorrow evening. That'll be available. And for all of our listeners, tweet us at Gift of Gaming Pod. And for those of you who would love access to all of our bonus content and early access to our review episodes for the Gift of Gaming Club, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/The Gift of Gaming. So sit back and enjoy what I hope is a relatively well edited and well put together old episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast. Welcome to the very first episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast, your one-stop shop for all things video games. On today's episode, our very first episode, I'm joined by my good gaming buddies, Craig the Critical Nolan. Say hello, Craig.
Hello.
And Luke, Mr. Master Chief Maycock. Luke, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Darren. How are you?
I'm good. So, we're just here to shoot the breeze about video games and kind of, get into various little themes and things. But like before we kick it off, Luke, you playing anything these days? What's your current video game of choice?
Ooh, my current video game of choice. The last couple of days, I've actually been chilling out in the evenings with JRPG from the Earthbound series.
Just a JRPG called JRPG.
No, a JRPG from the Earthbound series. Like the name of the game is Mother 3.
Oh, right. Sorry. I thought you said it was actually called JRPG. I was like, that is so brave. Jesus.
Yeah, it also wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if someone actually tried to do it.
Someone would have the balls to name their game JRPG as though it is the defining one,
Yeah.
That takes moxie. Yeah, it'd be pretty great.
This game is pretty meta, though. It's Mother 3 it's the third, I think it's just straight up the third game in the Earthbound series. And it never got a release in Europe. It never got an English translation, but it was a hugely popular and successful game over there. And so there are actually a bunch of fan translations of it, and it's just supposed to be beautiful. I found a video by a guy who makes content on YouTube called Super Eye Patch Wolf do a little breakdown of the game, and it sounded exactly like my cup of tea. Darren, actually, I think you'd love it to bits. It's very, very.
I love
charming.
the guy's name.
Oh, Super Eye Patch Wolf? Yeah, he's great. He's
Irish. I'd like to know where that came from. Yeah, I'd love to know where he got that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And so, this is one of those pump your hours into it JRPGs. See you next week. See you next month. JRPG.
I don't think it's a super long JRPG. It's I think How Long to Beat had it at about 26 hours for the main campaign and 32 hours for completion. Yeah, it's really modern. It was a Game Boy Advance game. So you'd be using a Game Boy emulator to play it on the PC.
Does this
also
one...
one of the?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Darren.
No, go ahead, Craig. Oh, well,
but
I'm just going to ask.
I'm just really curious before you talk about the game. Does this one star Lucas or Ness?
This is the one with Lucas.
This is the one with Lucas. Holy shit!
This is where Lucas comes from.
Yep.
I mean, all right. So, question to you guys: are you a Lucas guy or a Ness guy?
Obviously, a Lucas guy.
In truth, though, because most people know Ness and Lucas at this point, and it has to be said, just through Smash Brothers. And if you're a Smash Brothers fan, Lucas is just more fun to play as. He has the PK Ice, or PK Freeze, which is just the most annoying move ever, but is very, very functional. And a certain player completely dominates with that move and wrecks us every single time. So for me, Lucas is the more powerful character. Colin, my brother, he's just an absolute pro at using PK Freeze. Whereas PK Bot can't hit anyone for shit, so nobody needs to worry about that, So I'm not a huge NES fan, especially because I like to play Mario. So as soon as they try their PK Thunder to get back to the stage, I love just jumping off the side, forward A, spike their asses, and they're dead. It's great crack. But Lucas is the more powerful of the two, I think.
You've gone to war with many a Lucas in your Smash days,
big time. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Colin's
Colin is a very good player. Very good Lucas player.
Absolutely. And Craig, what about you? What are you playing at the minute?
I mean, Darren, you know all too well. Since March, I've been playing nothing but Monster Hunter. My favorite game series ever released an update. Final Fantasy VII Remake released a Yuffie update, and despite that, I'm still playing Monster Hunter. So that is the level of call that Monster Hunter has to me at the moment. It's just because, again, lockdown, you've got so many hours, you just sink your grind, you get the next thing, you know. I really appreciate it more just because I have that time. Whereas if I only had a couple of hours a night, I'd be like, what, you want me to grind 10 hours to get one item? Fuck off. That's not happening.
I don't think so.
That is just that is a game I'm benching immediately and giving a bad grade to. But we're victims of circumstance, right? So if I have 500 free hours of my time, fine. It's a great game in that sense. You know?
I'm going to use all those hours to hunt them monsters. Or in
I'm
our
going to hunt
case,
one monster 50 times and hopefully get that chest plate.
Yeah, that's pretty much us. So that kind of, you know, you're talking about lockdown and, you know, your games and you know, circumstances. It kind of brings us to, you know, our theme for the show. And I guess I better, seeing as it's our first episode, kind of talk about how the show as a whole is going to work. So every week we kind of bring a new theme to, you know, how we're going to talk about video games, what type of video games we're going to talk about, things like that. At the end of every month, hit it up with you know, I'll find the best bits of news from that month, throw those news at you guys or whoever's on, and get your kind of hot takes on whatever pieces of video game news material are coming out. That's kind of how we go, which kind of brings us to our first episode, and we figured because, you know, for those who aren't aware, and I don't know how you're not aware, we've been living in a pandemic for the last like 19, 20 months of our lives right now. And we've had a lot of time to play games, which for me has been great because, you know, I kind of fell off the wagon for a little while there and it came rushing back when I was sitting at home all the time. So today's theme, we're talking about our game of the pandemic. You know, which game hit us the hardest since this whole thing started. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a new game. It can be like an old game that you went back to, an old favorite, just to kind of pick you back up again during those dark days. But Luke, I'll kick it off with you. I mean, what would you say is your game of the pandemic? What's grabbed your attention for the last 18 months?
Guys, you're not gonna like this answer. I'm just gonna put it out there straight away. You're not gonna like it. My game.
Don't hurt me, Luke.
My game of the pandemic was, and just to preface, you know, the pandemic was a very hard time for a lot of people. It was nice to just have something to escape into, like a lovely world to disappear into and become a different person. And with that being said, my game of the pandemic was Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I expected it way worse.
You guys are okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay.
I mean,
I'm
it's
okay
still
with that. I was
incorrect
expecting
and
worse.
wrong, but you know, it's a less so like you would teed it up as though I'd be horribly offended, and I'm glad you did so because I'm definitely less offended now.
Yeah. Like lower expectations as low as you can.
A smart play,
and then hit us with a
very smart play.
It's just not
with an okay answer.
It's definitely not a popular Final Fantasy game as they go, and I just.
So can I ask?
But very different.
Before you kick into it,
certainly moving in the right direction. Even though.
But can I ask you, Luke?
Yeah.
Sorry, just before you go on, Luke, is this your first playthrough of Final Fantasy 15, or is this a game you went back to?
This would be my first playthrough, start to finish. I did launch into it when it first came out, and just couldn't get the Steam up to keep plowing on through. But no, this is my first playthrough, start to finish. Yeah.
And how did it? I mean, you've called it your game of the pandemic, so I'm assuming you enjoyed it because why else would you have it as your game of the pandemic?
I mean, yeah, it's a bad game. It's not a good game. It's not a clean game. It's not a well tied together game.
All of those things are true. Yes.
It has so many problems. However, so the pandemic for me just basically stuck me in front of my computer for really long stretches of a time. A lot of it for me was spent on the job hunt and lots of searches, lots of rejections, all that kind of fun stuff. And I'd put in...
That's just what you need with, like, you know, the existential crisis that was COVID-19.
Yeah, exactly. Just not being able to earn money wasn't great. But, you know, there was a lot of long hours went into the job search. For anyone wondering at home, I work in the animation industry. So it can be hard.
But he does now, my boy. Woo!
Yeah. Just started a job in animation there recently. So the job hunt went well. Final Fantasy 15 did me well. But I
got you the job. How did you
Final
work
Fantasy
that?
15. I just said it in the interview, and they were like, "You're goddamn hired."
You just held up the box to their face and said nothing. You just kept waving it at them until they said, "Wow, what moxie! This guy's hired."
Get him on board. There was just really long days, and I don't know. I do a thing in games. I kind of have a sort of a very bespoke kind of OCD completionism sort of desire whenever I kick into a game. So like in games,
I have that too, but it's definitely a curse, isn't it? Like it's awful.
It's a bit of a curse, but like if you lean into the parts of it that you enjoy, it can be sort of pleasant, sort of relaxing. Like if you just go, okay, I don't try and beat every part of the game, but there are certain things that I really like to there's certain ways I like to approach games. So an example would be when I played Final Fantasy VII through, one of my first playthroughs of Final Fantasy VII, what I did was I got to the stage where you get to the Chocobo stables and you have to pass the Midgar Zolom, and you have to get your Chocobo to do it. I wanted to get to a level where I could just fight and kill the Midgar Zolom. Like I just wanted to grind and grind and grind until I was strong enough to just flat out murder that snake just straight away. And there's something about that, just like literally just mindlessly finding battle after battle after battle and grinding up experience.
Hearing that Chocobo music over and over and over again.
Honest to God, like something about that is just really soothing and relaxing for me.
There is nothing more satisfying than sticking your middle finger up to the devs. Am I right, Luke?
Yeah,
no, I think they had it put in place that you could do that, and at least you probably built up a few enemy skills, right? I mean, that must have helped.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it is kind of a middle finger to the devs as well. It's a bit of all of the above, because you're, on the one hand, it's basically you get to a part of the game and the devs go, well, you're just not strong enough to get past this part. You need a Chocobo. And that's really cool, because from it's just so many different point of views, that's really cool, because you've just been shown the scale of how strong things can be in this world versus you. And then the very first thing that you come across when you get past the Zolom is you find another Zolom impaled on a tree by Sephiroth. Which is an amazing story device to convey,
especially
like, how
for you. If you
spend
5 to 10 hours training only to see that Sephiroth impaled this thing in one shot, that just shows how much more powerful he is than you.
Exactly. It really shows the gap. It's really powerful and not a way. It's like a story. It's a storytelling device that kind of can't be broken, even though you can grind and grind and grind and beat it. And the funniest thing, excuse my language, I don't know for swearing on this podcast.
No, it's okay. I've highlighted the explicit tick box, so we're safe. We're safe from any trouble.
Oh hell yeah! My favorite thing that actually happened in that scenario was I went to finally confront the Midgar Zolom and stepped to the edge of the swamp, and then began my sprint across the swamp. And then I made it to the other side without a Chocobo. I just ran across.
I've done that too. It's crazy. Yeah,
absolutely.
You can do it.
I got so mad because I did it specifically so that he'd catch me, and then I could turn around and kick his ass. But he never caught me.
But why did you run? You should have just took one step forward and then stood there defiantly. That's what I would have done.
Craig, I wanted him to think he had me. I wanted him to get up and
I would have taken one step forward and then just moved my controller more.
Stared him down. Got ready for the battle. But that's the kind of stuff that I love in video games, and that's why 15 was my game of the pandemic. What I would do is, again, I just grind up the XP levels, but there's a little stretch of road between a town there called Old Astalum, and I think there's a stretch of road that just goes north from there, and it's this beautiful bit of countryside, and I would just get the gang, get down onto the grass trail, and you can find all these items that you can turn into Expericasts to help boost your experience, like debased banknotes and rare coins and stuff like that, and all the debased stuff. And I just go along looking for those and fighting monsters, and while I was doing it, I'd be listening to a podcast, or I'd be watching some YouTube videos or something like that. It was just purely my happy place. I just look for.
So you're not content with the game. You have to add all these extra external influences.
Well,
like
again,
podcasts and things like that. I was like, this game isn't good enough to hold my attention. I better use this podcast.
Well, Craig, this is Final Fantasy 15 we're talking about. It's not good.
And also, I suppose
don't shit on your own game so early.
It's true.
But no, I suppose Yeah, but I suppose the thing about like enjoying a game in the pandemic is it's like, you know, a lot of it for me when I come to my answer will be the way you could relax and, you know, and feel a little bit more comfortable with everything that was going on. Yeah. And like I said, if Final Fantasy 15 was your game to kick back with a podcast, then I'm right with you. Absolutely, I totally get that.
That was it. That was me.
There's no wrong answer, but if I'm playing a game while also listening to a podcast, that game has failed hugely.
So look, because I mean, the Final Fantasy 15, one of its, I think, pros, of which there were some. I said, I played that. I enjoyed the bromance. Sure. I enjoyed the trip. From a gameplay perspective, it had a lot of problems, but the end game of Final Fantasy 15 was pretty slick. As in, you know, lots of extra dungeons, cool new bosses to fight, really powerful beings to go and see and experience. Did you do much of the end game then? Was it like a complete the story and I'm done, or did you hop into much of the end game of that?
I didn't do too much of the end game because of the way I played the game, because I was essentially at level 100 on chapter 2.
Oh my god!
Oh shit! That much? Wow.
Yeah. Oh man! Like this was my thing. This was what I did. I just went and I hung out in the countrysides, collecting stuff, fighting stuff. I go out at nighttime and fight all the demons and stuff as well. Like, I loved it so much. It's just I don't like the grand span of the game. Like, there's, like we talked about, there's lots of game design flaws, but the artists that worked on this game just put in beautiful efforts. All the sceneries are so lush and beautiful, and the monsters are really cool, and it's just so fun. So yeah, I was like level 100 at chapter, I think it's chapter 3. I still have my save where I was like level 99 at chapter 3, because I saved it in a separate slot just to prove it. But that meant that by the time I got to the end game, like, everything died really
just
quickly.
Like
That's really impressive. Holy shit!
It was like
taking so much time.
It did. It took some, but I love. That's like what I'm so into. It's so funny. I actually started playing Final Fantasy 15 with a friend of ours, with Daniel. We both started playing at the same time, and the idea was that we play through the game together. But I forgot that this is a thing that I just have to do in these games, just to grind up levels. Yeah. And he hit me up like a couple of times, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. And he was like, I'm at this chapter in the game. Where are you? And I was like, I'm at chapter 3, man. I was like, okay. I'm like, but I'll catch up. And then a couple of weeks would go by and he'd be like, I'm at chapter 9. Where are you? And I'm like, I'm still at chapter 3. I'm sorry.
But I'm on a much higher level than you.
Yeah, no, I legitimately would
have been. And I've been fighting boars in the forest for the last 20
I was going to say,
exactly.
Craig, you took it out of my mind. I was just thinking of that South Park episode, World of Warcraft.
He's just fighting these boars while listening to his favourite podcast, just slugging away. Like, this is
That's
great,
me, baby. That's how I do it. I don't know.
Zero tactics, just slugging away. Bonk
something about time. It is just like, it's my happy place. And it was just, it was the escapism.
Based on that, Final Fantasy VIII must be your favourite Final Fantasy, right? I mean, it has to be. Through it. Oh my god, Final Fantasy VIII rewards you for that type of mentality. It is definitely the game to go to. You can by disc 1, you can use the full-on final limit break move and do like 100,000 damage to like the final boss or the first disc boss, and then she still beats you in the cutscene because she's meant to be more powerful than you, but you can destroy her in a single attack if you train correctly, which I did and made a video of, and like completely annihilated her with Lionheart, and it was the most badass thing ever, only for her to then in the cutscene defeat me with a nice attack. And I was like, fuck you, that is absolute bullshit. I annihilated her.
I don't feel like that doesn't sound rewarding to me at all.
But so if we're talking Final Fantasies, Luke, I know you've played a couple. Where does 15 fit in for you in the realm of? I mean, you played it through. I know you've played other Final Fantasies. We talked about 7 and everything like that. But where does that fit in for you with other Final Fantasies?
I haven't played a lot of Final Fantasy start to finish. It's like the third one I've played start to finish, honestly.
Oh, nice.
But
okay, all right. So let's say your top 3 of your Final Fantasies that you finished, is this bottom? Is this 3, or has it done better than other Final Fantasies in your mind?
No, this is the worst. Yeah, this is the worst Final Fantasy. It's bad.
Like that.
Level 99 is the worst.
It's not good, and I don't need a game to be like really tight or really good to enjoy it. Like they're just things to be played, and they have like beautiful
and I think,
environments.
And that's the thing. I think that game and the fact that you journey around with your boys, in the car around this very beautiful, like the fact that Final Fantasy 15 is even a game considering its production is a miracle. Like, that game had
True.
like 4 iterations or 3 iterations of different teams working on it. It was meant to be Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy Versus 13. It was canned a couple of times.
God
so
bless.
like, yeah.
God bless the director that stepped in to take over that project from Tetsuya Nomura. Because I just the other day, I heard that he, towards the end of him being turfed off that and being kept on Kingdom Hearts, he came in at one point and told the execs at Square that he wanted to turn it into a musical after seeing Hugh Jackman and Anne Hathaway in Les Mis. Swear to God, like, that game was never getting finished.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
I think, yeah. I think
and I'm now even more
themes,
afraid for Final Fantasy 7-2 remake.
yeah, we're in trouble. I think one of the recurring themes for this podcast for us, because we're all fans of kind of like similar games, and I mean, as a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, I know Tetsuya Nomura all too well, but I think it'll be a recurring theme on this podcast to talk about how absolutely batshit crazy that guy is,
how scared
and continues to be. But yeah, but like, you know, that's what I mean. Considering the director before the director who finished the game wanted to turn it into a musical, it is a small miracle that
at
game
the post-production stage.
Yeah, I actually was finished, and is, although not like, I mean, it's got its broken parts, but it's a good story start to finish. And like, when I finished that game, I got a couple of feels and everything at the end. Should I mean, it had, you know, it was put together in such a way that it still was a complete game from a narrative perspective, messy here and there, but like, I think that's a small miracle.
The greatest thing about that game is just the 4 guys hanging out, and it really hits home. Like, it's the first game I ever played, and I've played many since. Like, Red Dead Redemption 2 did a great job of building that camaraderie, but that was the first game I really felt like, you know, your supporting characters and you, like, they're actually organically speaking. Like, anytime you do something, they always have a little quip or something to say, and it feels really general. You know, like, it's an extreme bump up from their previous Final Fantasy entries, which are notorious for having really poor dialogue. And, you know, Final Fantasy X, like, ha 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 ha, like, you know, like, there's so many memes of just really bad Final Fantasy acting. But 15 took it to a new level where they could actually write good scripts and really focus on that. It's a shame they went too heavy on that and not into the actual gameplay and, you know, world building itself. But I mean, it's still, you know, based on their past entries and based on that entries, it made the future look brighter, you know, like, because they have everything covered now. They've got the gameplay, they've got the voice acting, they've got the stories. So now they really have all the materials needed to create a really good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. So an interesting choice. Look, I like that. You know, this is whatever helps you get through a pandemic, and, you know, Final Fantasy 15. Absolutely, I can get that. I mean, it wasn't one I was going to touch during these hard times. I mean,
I'm delighted you said it, though. I mean, you know, it was a great one to talk about,
and interesting.
And it is a fantastic game for what it does. Like, the discussions that the characters have when you're just driving and they just start like turning around talking to each other, and like, that type of stuff is just fantastic. Like, you know.
Totally.
And like, with Prompto always asking to pull over for pictures because you guys are essentially on a road trip, and then, you know, I mean, look, there's one thing for anybody listening to this podcast, you want to talk video games, like, just get in your head right now, there's going to be spoilers here, unless it's a brand new game that's come out. If this thing is like 2 years old plus, we're doing spoilers.
So wait a minute, Darren.
So
you took the time to declare that there will be spoilers after saying that Prompto likes to take photos.
No, because I'm.
How heavy, Darren! No. You better warn everybody.
Yeah. No, I'm getting to the spoiler. Spoiler. What I need to say is that because, you know, that's the thing, you don't really pay much attention to it about like, oh, he's taking photos and this is cool and whatever else. But then you get to the point at the end of the game where you've got to go and face this dude alone, and the guys know you're not coming back. And then Prompto comes to you and shows you like the family album, essentially. And he's like, here, man, take your favorite picture with you, you know, think of us or whatever. And I was flipping through that album being like, wow, what a trip we had. Oh, this is so nice. What a journey we all had together. And it was, you know, that was a good little piece of you know, a good narrative piece, a good gameplay piece to actually put that in and say, God, look at all this thing I've just come through. Look at my 60, you know, plus hours of gameplay. And like, I'm sure, Luke, most of the pictures in your album were of that single country road where you just went level up to 100 fighting those boars.
Yeah,
you know, that's half the album.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I like, discarded a lot of fighting photos, that's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I had loads of good things. So Craig, moving to you, pandemic. Can't go out for pints, can't go out with your mates, can't do anything except sit in your house and walk around the block because of restrictions. What game picked you up from that? What game was your game of the pandemic?
Okay, well, based on everything you're saying there, the answer would have to be like Among Us because I sunk like probably 1,000 hours in, and I got to continue to talk to my friends while playing. So that really was like a social game, and also a game that brought me out of like almost depression because I was able to talk to my friends again. But it's not the game I want to talk about, and it's not even a game I would consider a game. It's just this kind of online kind of murder mystery to me. It's not a video game, you know? Like,
okay, yeah.
So I don't consider it as such. And you know, when lockdown started, like that was when like we were like, oh shit, like this is going to be big. Like what's going to happen here? So the game that got me over that initial hump, that first say 6 to 8 weeks, was a game I'd already played, but I went back and was like, you know what, I've a load of time here, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to do my third campaign through Fire Emblem Three Houses. And so for me, that is the game that initially got me over the kind of hump of like, oh shit, I'm staying home all the time, what am I going to do? I have all this free time. Sure, fuck it, I'll do the third campaign of Three Houses and put another 60, 70 hours into that. And I really enjoyed it because Fire Emblem Three Houses is one of, like, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Three Houses is basically Hogwarts, and you just run around talking to your friends, just building up kind of relationships, and then going out on these JRPG-like missions with characters who, you know, if you don't play correctly, will die for real. And I think I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. The first one I played was the Sacred Stones on the GBA, and I played all of them since, gone back and played the originals. I love it to death, but there was something about this one that took it to a new level, and I think that was because you had your class of 8 students, and of those 8 students, they were all friends with each other, and they could all build relationships with each other. So depending on what characters you brought into the fights, the way you wanted to play, you really saw your own story progress in that, like, okay, I want this guy to be my main guy, you know. And for me, that was Ferdinand. I fucking thought he was the absolute biz. He was the noblest of nobles, and he always went in with his head held high. And with him, like, he had so many great supporting relationships with characters, and it just tied into his actual personality because he's the guy who wants to please everybody. He's the guy who just wants to show you like what being noble is, and he's not a noble in the dickish sense. He is the one who goes, no, this is what a noble is, or this is what a noble should be. He should inspire. He should lead with example. And I was like, you know, just this one character has made this game for me. He's just like revolutionized the story for Fire Emblem the way they've never done before, because usually you have the game and there's maybe 30 or 40 characters, and of those each of them can maybe interact with 2 or 3. With this, they focus on a smaller group of say 8, but all of those 8 interact with each other. So if you want to build relationships or companions amongst any of those 8, it's all written so that you can do it that way. And obviously any single playthrough, you aren't going to have relationships with each of those characters because you're going to play in a different way. But if you focus on 2 specific, or these guys, and have them pair up, or, you know, you just like how they talk to each other, you can pair them up in combat, and their relationship blossoms, and it becomes very real, to the point where, like, after a mission you go back to base and you're talking to them, you're just getting so much more about who they are and what they like, and then you can develop your relationship with them from there. So it's almost like one of these, I don't know, not like The Sims or something, but it's one of those kind of social games where you're building up each and every one of the characters, you know, based on who you like, and then discovering more about them, more about their backstory, more about who they like or what they will do. And it's one of those games that just didn't disappoint in terms of story and how the characters were written. I thought some of the scripts were absolutely fantastic. In all honesty, I thought it should have been a 3DS game, and to charge €60 for it seemed a little harsh based on the fact that it was just a 3DS game ported onto the Switch, you know. But I mean, they'll do what they do, and I certainly still enjoyed it. But graphically, it wasn't on the mark, you know. Like,
but on that €60 thing that you just say there, and this is where I talk about, like, you know, because we're getting into new generations of games, and
we are, and you have to remember that the Switch is essentially a PS5.
Yeah, that's like
that is the current generation. Yet Fire Emblem Three Houses is not a very impressive game visually, but it's still the best of the bunch, and you still get a good amount of gameplay from it. like a huge
amount.
I mean,
like how many hours you talked? Because I mean,
I would say I did all 3 campaigns, and that's probably about 60 hours per campaign. So I'd say I put 180 hours into that game.
I'm gonna how long to beat it. If you guys haven't heard of this, by the way, howlongtobeat.com. Just you can look up any game on that, and it does like a crowdsource amount of time it takes to beat a game. So I'm going to look up 5 houses now.
Because like if you think about €60 and it's because games are getting more expensive now, it's kind of how I've had to look at them from a value perspective and be like, well, how many hours did I play this game for? Was it worth it? So we talk about Monster Hunter at the beginning of the show. Craig, we were talking about that was a €60 game at the time, €60, €70, whatever it was at the time. But like that was value for money for me. Like, I mean, the amount of hours I pumped into that, of course, I got my 60 or 70 euros worth. And I would say the same for Fire Emblem Three Houses. 60, or maybe it's not. From a broad overlook of it, it's not a €60 game. But when you think about how many hours you enjoyed, like thoroughly enjoyed putting into it, I can see its value. But so my question
you can see its value
is,
in that sense. But at the same time, like there's all these first-party developers, like the guys who make The Last of Us, and there's the guys who are like even the developers of Cyberpunk. Guarantee, like although they've gotten it wrong, the amount of work I can see from the type of game that they're trying to make,
big time.
And then I see these guys just kind of cash it in with just per visuals and stuff like that. And
Copy
like
and paste.
at the very least, you could charge less, just to showcase that you guys
we
put
are
in
talking
the work,
about Nintendo,
but nothing compared to what these other people have done, And I judge games harsh because in a movie you can make a movie for a tenner, and I'll still pay €10 to see it in the cinema, and that's fine so long as it's a good movie. But with games, I judge it more harsher, Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, the Blair Witch made an absolute fortune and was made with nothing, and I accept that. But when it comes to video games, I expect a certain caliber of products. Like I expect a certain amount of money to be put into the game, knowing how much you're going to make from it, And Fire Emblem has only been bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where
I'm surprised you still have that frame of mind, considering that you're kind of leaning towards more like the Nintendo side of things. That's where your game base is based. I'm surprised that's still your train of thought, considering that you just play like that obviously you play a wide spectrum of games, but you've always been a Nintendo kind of guy. So
I've always been a Nintendo
still have
guy.
That frame of mind.
To this day, I still think Nintendo have done it correctly and are making games that they are comfortable making and making them within good graphical times. They're not trying to push the system. Like for me, a big part of the PlayStation, I mean, you even talked about it recently, Darren, is that the PlayStation got everybody hooked with their like great visuals, and you're like, oh my god, look at that trailer, look what that can look like. But then you load in the game and then you're waiting 3 minutes just to see the fucking opening cutscene, and then you're waiting another 2 minutes, and then like every time you change screen, like I'm talking like me Resident Evil games here, every time you go open the door you're waiting 30 seconds, and I'm like, they cashed in on this. That's the way video games are going now, and I don't like it. And I think Nintendo got it right. They were like, no, we will reduce the quality, but loading times are improved, you can get right in and go straight to the gameplay. It was more about the game instead of the visual. As a piece of play. I think to this day, Sony and Xbox and all of them, they got it wrong, and Nintendo got it right. And it would be great to have these games to look forward to in the future. Like imagine, like say, the graphics were only as good as the Switch right now, but in 10 years we were up to PS5 level. But think of all the great games we get in between, because we're not rushing it to get to the next great visual, Like I think do it when you're ready, not when it's beneficial to the company and beneficial to like, oh, we get a trailer out of this, and then that's it. Like almost half the budget of the game was in the trailer, and I think that's where like games like Final Fantasy 15 really dropped the ball, because in the first hour I felt like I'd finished the entire game. Like I'd been to a gas station, which means I have 30 identical gas stations to go to, and like they very early on they lost track of the game, like because earlier Final Fantasy games 6 and 7, all the locations are completely different. You have completely different gameplay, but in 15 everything looks identical. I mean the landscape is different, but as soon as you get to a town or a location, it's completely identical.
Absolutely, but I think based on that, I wouldn't say Final Fantasy 15 is a fair case for the argument, considering that we just talked about how it was like, it was a mess for about 10 years.
It was.
No, I totally get you. But
my question, that's my thing, just generally about how Nintendo do things. But with Tree Houses, again,
100%.
it should have been a 3DS game. It probably was at first, and then they ported it to the Switch. I just expected a certain bump up graphically. And I'm going on about how Nintendo don't need to do that graphically. But if you're going to charge €60 as opposed to €40 just for a port, then you need to do something different, you know? And I do think they did a great job with the voice acting. If their budget went into that, then I'm fine. But it just doesn't seem like voice acting was enough. I felt like at the very least we should have got a few more maps, because although I completed all 3 campaigns and I loved it, the first like 12, 13 missions on all three storylines are identical. You know, you do the same mission despite the fact that you're in a different class or raising different students. It's completely identical. The first say 10, 12 missions.
The game takes,
and then it opens
the
up.
game takes a long time to branch.
You know?
It takes a long time to branch out in that game when you go into things. But okay, so like, you know, we're talking about fire. But my pressing question for you, Craig, is when you play this game, and answer me honestly now.
Always.
Did you play classic, or did you go? It's not easy, but did you go classic in that if they die, they die?
So okay, you might hate me on this, Darren, and because this is the first Fire Emblem game I think I played where I got that option to choose. Because usually, and I played a lot of them, if they died, they were dead, and I always hit reset. You know?
Great.
I have to.
Hurts my heart.
And that's the developer's fault. Don't you blame me for that. Don't you dare blame me for that. Okay, if a character dies, that means I can no longer see cutscenes with that character.
Yep.
But if the character does die, no other character will ever mention that character having died ever again. So if the character dies, going forward, I gain absolutely nothing. Nobody ever references the fact that, oh no, if only Joshua were here, but we lost him in the last battle. No, it's just immediately like he didn't exist.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
For that reason,
I
don't like that, because I'm just missing out on details if I let a character die. I'm missing out on story elements. And when you're talking about a 60-hour game that I might not get another playthrough, I want to see those cutscenes, because when am I ever going to get to? Now, if it was a case that the character did die and then in the next mission there was a reference to that character dying, or it played out slightly differently because the character died, then I'd be right there with you going, yeah, you know what? I'll just let it happen and see how it goes. But that's not how the game works, Darren. So for me, they dropped the ball, so I want to see as much as I can, and in order to do that, I have to make sure every character survives. You know?
Now listen, I respect the way anybody plays any game. Like, the thing about it is, video games are there to be enjoyed. Like, I don't follow this BS about, like, oh, you don't play that game on hard mode where, like, you have to fight this guy 50 times.
But I did play it on hard mode. I did do that, but I left it. Although in truth, Fire Emblem Three Houses is one of those games that you actually don't need that, because they let you rewind time so much.
Yes,
that you can easily stop someone from dying. So I could easily have turned that feature off, and it would have been the same, gone because hard. I rarely had to go back in time.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't care how I was just putting that on you, Craig, because I knew I'd get a good reaction.
Yeah, and
because,
you did,
like,
and
for
it's
me,
something I do criticize the game for, because of course I want content, and if I lose a character, I'm just losing content. Like, I'm not gaining other alternative content. It's just dead traffic, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. No, like I said, like, people playing games on easy just to get through it and enjoy the game, I'm all for. Like, you going through the game where there's no risk of your characters dying, absolutely.
And it was a great point. And in truth, though, like, a lot of games, particularly say Metal Gear Solid 2 or those type of games that I just really wanted the story, I do play on the easiest setting just because I just want to enjoy myself but get through it. I don't ever want to lose, because I feel like the character wouldn't... Like, if I'm playing as Batman, I know that Batman isn't going to lose. So if I lose, it looks stupid, and it takes me out of the game. So I'm if anything, I want to dominate, you know, even if I'm not that good a player, because that's what Batman would do.
No, that's totally fair. Like, I think people, like I said, the games have those options on them for a reason, because different people enjoy playing games in different ways.
Exactly.
You know, so if you're listening out there, don't be criticizing anybody.
No, you can totally criticize.
Don't anybody criticize because Craig didn't kill his characters. Okay, no, you know, we're all friends.
But no,
here.
sometimes if a character, like in the Sacred Stones, sometimes, you know, I've gotten like 40 minutes through a fight, and then in the last turn, some character died. I'm like, I'm just I don't want to do it again. You know, I've done it 3 times now. I'm one turn away from completion. Yes, so this character dies, and you know I accept it. But I'm always disappointed because either that character just isn't dead in cutscenes, or he is dead and is never mentioned again. You know, I'm like,
yeah,
that sucks.
No, I get that. But no, listen, that's a good choice. I mean, I had Fire Emblem for the pandemic as well. I only finished it the first campaign, but it was quite enjoyable. I mean, I'm a big strategy game guy anyway, so I really enjoyed it.
Oh, big time.
I, on the other hand, when they died, and I guess in my own kind of brain, I came up with my own cool storyline or cutscene for how that person kicked the bucket. That's kind of that's how I worked it. But I mean, I'm totally with you, because it's the weird part about that is you could have your favorite or second favorite, third favorite character in a battle lose their life, and you're like, oh my god, he meant so much to me, but no, why is nobody talking about him? Like, surely he meant more than
his script is just immediately stopped, you know, and you're like,
yeah.
Darren,
no, that's a decent one. Yeah,
that burgeons the question then, Darren. If you played a bit of Fire Emblem, what was your go-to game of the pandemic?
And was it Fire Emblem? Did I actually just take your answer?
Yes.
No, you didn't take my answer. I was surprised you went with Fire Emblem. So mine was a tough cookie. It was between two, and these two are worlds apart. But they appealed to me in 2 very different ways. The one that didn't make the cut in this case was Animal Crossing.
Fuck you, Darren. Animal Crossing's not a video game. That's like me saying Among Us. Animal Crossing is not a video game.
So I think, and I'd say there might be fellow gamers out there who might have picked this up during the pandemic as well, might get what I'm talking about here. But that March, because it was the first kind of, because so many games got delayed, but Animal Crossing had just passed that cutoff point where it had done production and it was just being ready to be shipped. So it had avoided the worst of all the disruption that the pandemic caused back in the early 2020. So it was out, and it was the one of the hype to really. And I never played an Animal Crossing game before, but I was like looking at all these delays for all these other games that I wanted to play, and I kind of thought, well, Animal Crossing hasn't been delayed. I'll buy that. I have a Switch. I'll get it. And it was the most soothing game. Now I won't go into this too much because it didn't make the cut, but there's the opening theme for Animal Crossing is this beautiful little trumpet piece, and anytime I hear that now to this day, it just relaxes me, because I'd be quite pent up, worried about it, and I'd go over and I'd talk to Hans, the ape villager that was in the place, and he'd be like, "Yeah, man, peace, don't worry about it, everything's cool." And I was like, "Sweet, man, everyone here in this I lived on the island for March, for the initial part of."
Yeah, I mean, I did too, and I enjoyed it for what it was, but it wasn't a video game, and I wish I could take that time back,
So I really enjoyed, but it didn't get the cut. The one that did make the cut for me made the cut for me for a number of reasons, and I think it'll probably be a fairly obvious one. But for me, it was Final Fantasy VII Remake. Essentially because basically, and Luke, you would remember this from when we were younger. You, me, and our buddy Kev would always we loved Final Fantasy VII. And when Advent Children, the movie, was coming out, like, we did our best to get our hands on a pirated copy as soon as we could. I don't encourage that, kids. Don't do that. That's bad.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
But we really wanted to see this, and we were watching it, and I remember being in Kev's room. I think we might have been 14 maybe at the time. I'll have to double check when Advent Children came out, but we were looking at this and talking to each other about, wow, could you imagine Final Fantasy VII in these graphics with this dialogue and these amazing battle scenes or whatever else?
Yeah, man.
And they gave that to us and more in this game. So this game came out, and it's a single player. So I suppose Animal Crossing was really good because I got that multiplayer aspect where a few of us go up visit each other islands, we'd hop on a call, have a chat, see how everybody was, and run around islands and be like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But Final Fantasy VII the remake has no multiplayer aspect, so I wasn't going. You think you wouldn't go talk to people, but our friend Kev Lucas was at the time was in New Zealand, and when the pandemic first hit, New Zealand went into a lockdown for 3 weeks, and Kev got the game as well. So what we would do is, in my evenings, so he would have played, so obviously the time difference means that my evening is his following morning, essentially. So in my evenings after work or whatever, I'd play a couple of hours, and I'd go out for a walk, and I'd give Kev a call, because the night before, he would have played the same part of the game. And we'd just discuss it, we'd break it all down, because it was just phenomenal.
So were you guys going through the game chapter by chapter at the same rotation type thing?
No, so
because thank God you weren't with Luke here, for something like that.
Stuck on chapter 3 for
He's like, hey Luke, I want to talk about chapter 4. You there yet? He's like, no, Darren, I'm still on chapter 1.
I haven't gotten to play Final Fantasy VII yet, but that's absolutely how I'm going to play it. I'm going to.
Yeah, that's
so.
When do I unlock chapter
selection? There's no open world. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, for me, it was this thing. No, we weren't always at the same piece, but we'd always say, hey, where are you at now, or what chapter you on? And if we were ahead, then you'd only talk about what the other person had gotten to. But for me, like, the game was, like, it was so anticipated for me, this remake. I was like, they have to do it perfectly correct. And, they first announced it, like, years prior to this, at some E3, I think it was. And they showed the trailer, that intro thing to Midgar and the train pulling up to the station. And I thought, I need to get my hands on that game. So for me, it was so anticipated.
For me, as soon as I saw that trailer, I went, yeah, they're wasting their budget on special effects. This is going to be a short game, And in a way, I was disappointed that they went so visual heavy on it, because I knew instantly that this wasn't going to be a full remake,
No, in terms of all in one game, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the opening trailer, the first 60 seconds of the trailer only showed like the scorpion fight, so I was like, that is less than 20 minutes of a 50-hour game,
Absolutely, yeah. So, like, I totally get where you're coming from, but I was against that idea at first of bringing out, 5 games to complete this one game, because I was like, well, it's such a money grab, essentially. But again, you think of how far we've gone in essentially like almost 20 years type thing,
Yeah.
That they can't make that entire game in today's graphics and put it on a single disc. It's just not going to happen. If they wanted to.
I mean, they didn't necessarily need to do today's graphics. They could have just updated it. But I'm like you. I like what we've gotten, because it's just,
I love what we've gotten.
It's just
and like I just fell into it.
Yeah.
And like you talk about Final Fantasy 15, Luke, and I'm a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, and I liked Final Fantasy 15 as well, but I could see all of the best parts of those games included in this, in the battle system and everything. Kingdom Hearts 2 for me was one of the most enjoyable games to play. Like, the battle system in that was so fluid, it was so intelligent, it was so just so enjoyable. And they took the best bits of that and the best bits of Final Fantasy 15, and there was very few good bits of the battle system I felt in Final Fantasy 15. There was a wacky camera, but like visually, a lot of stuff you were doing looked amazing, like people teaming up side by side beside you and doing these like tag team moves on certain things. It was really, really enjoyable to look at. And 7 kind of took all those best bits and put it into this game. But I mean, all those big hits in terms of, the escape from the Shinra building, Wall Market, all those amazing parts in the game that they had fleshed out.
It nails.
Yeah,
it nails.
And it nails all of them. And then, for me, I'm a big music lover when it comes to video games. For me, and like you guys would know from when I do D&D sessions and we're doing battle scenes, the music is such a huge aspect of these things for me that I have to have good music. And I was worried when there was no word that Uematsu was coming back for this game. I was like, oh jeez, well that kind of says a little bit about it. But then someone went and told them the plan for it, and they convinced him to come back, and the score is outrageous.
Exceptional. Like every tune is an absolute full orchestra. Like, it's not just the small versions that the original had. Each one is completely remade and handcrafted in a beautiful way.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And that honors the originals.
Back when I was 7 or 8 years old and I first played Final Fantasy 7, you were looking at these people with like hooves for hands, essentially, in their pixelated ways, and reading speech bubbles, but you could feel the relationships build between the characters.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Watching like Cloud and Aerith in this game, and there's a bit that they brought out the DLC for it there recently, and I'm playing through the game again. And there's the bit where you kind of like, you and Aerith go to Wall Market. Is that section of the game? And I walked that whole section because there's this beautiful tune playing in the background.
I know, it's the darkness part where it's just like, you're walking through this place at night and it plays this lovely soothing music.
Yeah,
I'm totally
and
with
you're listening to them.
Anytime I was with Cloud and Aerith, I walked. I always walked.
Yeah, but like that in itself is a huge, like, you have to hand it to the
There's a massive nod because I'm so immersed that I don't want to speed through. I don't want to feel like I'm running. I want to feel like we're going for a stroll. These two characters who I respect the hell out of. Yeah.
So it had all these things for me, and then at the end of the day, at the end of the evening, I might do a 2 or 3 hour session. I'd go through it, and then at the end of all that, like there's a couple of our mates that were living away, and we all couldn't see each other and stuff like that. But I go and then call my pal Kev, and we just have a chat like, how amazing was that piece? How amazing was that piece? I can't believe they've done this for that. And it was like, he's here in Ireland, and everything's relatively okay because we're having such a great laugh about this game, and it just pulled me through the whole way. Now, part of me which is I maybe spent a bit more time with the game on the first playthrough, but I was so excited to get to the next beat, the next big moment in that game that I knew was coming, that I just kept playing it like non-stop, and I wish it kind of lasted me longer than it did. I mean, I finished it in they reckon it's like a 35-hour game-ish there or abouts, but I got to those 35 hours in a very small period of time. Absolutely, just kept playing. Yeah. So I wish I could have made it last longer, but no, I like playing it now even a second time round, and lucky since then I've managed to get my hands on a PS5 and seeing it in 4K or close to 4K, and the performance of it and the graphics of it being improved, and they've rendered different backgrounds to look better than they did before. Anything I had a problem with graphically or visually in the first iteration of that game, they fixed. It's like they listened to everything and they fixed it all. One of the best things about it was people were giving out about it when it first came out, but you stay in a hotel or motel at the very beginning of the game, and they hadn't rendered any of the doors into this motel properly. So when you were playing the final piece, these are just brown rectangles that you walked into, and everyone was giving out. And then before the release of this new iteration, they actually went onto Twitter. The Final Fantasy Twitter went on and was like, "Look what we have here, fellas!" And it was like a fully rendered door. So they listened to everything that was going on and was like, "Well, yeah, absolutely."
But in truth, those things were probably done initially. It's just that the PS4 just couldn't handle it.
It was too much for it. Yes, that's it. Peg back. So to cut off, I won't go on any further because we don't want to drag on for too much longer. But yeah, that for me, for that month that I played Final Fantasy VII through, it was just, it brought me I finished work, and whereas before I hated finishing work and sitting around having nothing to do because there was nothing you could do in the beginning of the pandemic, this was like, I'm clocking out of work early. I'm gonna play some more Final Fantasy VII because this is amazing,
And don't worry, I mean, this is not the last time we'll be talking about that game.
Yeah. I hope you guys like Final Fantasy because we're all fans here. So get ready for that. But yeah, so I think I won't keep it too long. I think we'll leave it there because we're pretty close in. So I mean, listen, you've heard all of our games of the pandemic. If you guys, if there was anything to our listeners, if you guys listened to anything or played anything during the pandemic that really kind of struck a chord with you, hit us up. You can email us at thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Just send us in, what your favorite game was and why. And if we get the chance, we'll probably throw it out onto any of the shows that we have in the future. But yeah, Luke, Craig, thank you guys so much for that. That was a lot of fun. And listen, we'll hit each other up. So yeah, so just for those listeners, we do a weekly podcast. Each week is a different theme for our episode, and we can talk about anything from first-person shooters to our least favorite game of all time. It kind of stretches through anything in the video game industry.
That's great.
That sounds great.
That's one for the future. Yeah, that'll be a hot topic. Yeah, that might take a couple episodes. And then at the end of each month, then we'll hit up. Hopefully, the plan is to hit up a news episode, kind of taking in the news from that month and just getting people's takes on it and what they think. But yeah, listen, guys, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for chatting to me today, and for our listeners, go grab that loot, level up, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.